Mom, get off the phone! And welcome back to the Retro Review. I am the Bearded Geek. Joining me as always is Mikey the Freak.
What's up?
And Steve.
Hey guys, what's going on?
What's up, Steve?
Not a
Today,
lot, just having fun.
today we are going to be reviewing the movie The Net, starring Sandra Bullock. Mikey the Freak, why don't you tell us a little bit about this movie?
Yeah, so I'm gonna read IMDb's description. It is a computer programmer stumbles upon a conspiracy putting her life and the lives of those around her in great danger.
Bum, bum,
So
bum.
yeah, so this movie, starts out Sandra Bullock as kind of an at-home programmer, which is kind of what we're doing now since 2020. And it's weird, premonitions. So she stumbles upon this Praetorian, which is there's a pi symbol at the bottom corner, this corner of your screen, that she clicked on, and lo and behold, all these kind of deep, dark, secret web areas kind of pop up, and it kind of goes into things that you can change. I mean, you can change anything. You can change medical records. You can change flight plans.
DMV records.
DMV records. Yeah, this movie was almost like a premonition. The internet was still fairly young within 10 years, I would think, since everything kind of started.
It was a toddler.
Yeah, very toddler. It's a preteen. So this movie was interesting back then, but now it kind of makes sense because there are so many things out there with the internet and people, hacking in your computers, and the computer programs and big national companies, and stealing your identity for identity theft is still huge now. It was big in the 90s. Identity theft was all over the place in the 90s. So Sandra Bullock has that where she goes down to Mexico. She finally takes a vacation, and she gets her stuff stolen because the one people that are looking for, they're actually looking for the disc that has this program on it. And if they control this disc, they can control the entire what was it?
It's like a government system, yeah.
Ghost.
Gateway.
Mozart's Ghost.
Yeah, Mozart's Ghost was the program, and its Gatekeeper was the program that
The operating system.
Yeah, the operating system. There you go.
Yeah, so it comes to where the one person that owns this kind of control everything, and it ends up being the main person that's putting out this protection system, the security hardware and programs to actually prevent the gatekeeper from taking over, and it becomes a whole inside type job. Yeah, so, and of course, the end of the moral of the story is she gets her life back, or gets all her information comes back, she gets her house back, and so forth.
No,
so
you know what? I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to continue this premonition. This movie, this movie is in continuance of Eli and Musk saying that this is all a simulation, because the movie ends with the city being shown and then the pie appearing in this corner, and then a mouse coming over and clicking it. So I think that whole world in its own right is just a simulation and a computer program.
It's the Sims.
Like the Sims?
I understood everything. I understood everything they were saying. I think this is
the Matrix.
I think this is its own. Just maybe this was a prequel to the Matrix.
There you go.
And then the sequel to this is The Matrix, and then the sequel to that is The Lake House with Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am done, and I'm here all week.
Oh,
and
my
that
goodness.
is its own right movie about time travel.
Well,
mind blown.
I thought this movie was it was dated For sure, especially with the computers being used and the floppy disks. No one really uses floppies anymore. It's all USBs and stuff like that. But
no one uses floppies because you have Viagra.
That's right.
They use
But
they use hard disks.
yeah. But yeah, it was dated like and there were some things that didn't make sense, like Sandra Bullock turning her computer into a pixelated fire with a remote control. That
Kevin, why are you already taking like the point that I said beforehand that you
but-
knew I was going to bring
but-
up?
I am
Like you knew
telling
I
you,
was going to.
I
look,
went first.
You know we do
I
that now
went
with
first.
TVs. You know we do
I
that
mean-
now with TVs because I go on the Spectrum and you find that fire for Christmas and you
Yep.
turn
Go
it
on
on
this-
while you're opening Christmas presents.
Yeah.
You go on the Spectrum. I think we're all on the Spectrum. You can find that fireplace thing on YouTube now and Netflix as well.
Yes.
Yes.
But it looks much
and it's
better.
probably on
I'm-
like 10-hour loops too.
Yeah, probably.
It
probably.
is.
Yeah.
Sorry, bearded geek, but you 100% knew. You 100% knew that I was going to be bringing that point up myself.
I did, sorry. But yeah, she uses a remote control to flick it to that, and she orders pizza online. I think that was the first time I saw somebody order pizza online was in this movie. I didn't know you could do that. Of course, I didn't have a computer until much later than this movie came out.
How many movies can you think of where they order pizza online, bearded geek?
I
It's
think
like that.
this
It's like
may
that.
be the first. This may be the first.
This may be the only because I can't think
only
of
one.
any other movie where it's like, "Hey, honey, I'm ordering a pizza online. Do you want the pepperonis or no this time?" Like,
I get it. Yeah. But it was
don't give me that, Mike. Don't give me that, Mikey. You listen here for a second.
it had a storyline, but it
was a movie.
It was a movie. Steve, did you give your actual thoughts on the movie?
It was a movie. This movie came out in 1995 with a running time of like an hour and 40 something minutes, I want to say. And this was the first time I watched this movie. I've seen the ending before on cable TV.
Catch the last 10 minutes.
No, just literally the ending, like the thing going to the thing and clicking the thing. That is the one I know that I've ever seen. So yeah, this was my first time watching this movie. I feel I would have had more fun sitting on a tin cup.
Fair point. Fair point. Ratings. Mikey the Freak.
I will say really quick. Let me throw this out. My father ran a computer repair shop, so I actually dealt with computers for the majority of my life. This film is a joke. Let's go to ratings. Mikey the Freak. What are you?
Mikey the Freak. Why don't you give us your rating on this movie, sir?
Yeah. So watching this, I think I've maybe watched this once or twice in the late 90s. But I don't feel that it holds water nowadays. I do think that what the movie is interesting and what makes me interested in the movie is it's almost like how it kind of is that premonition on how someone's life can completely disappear and the identity theft can happen. And remember, this was 95. So I think they kind of wanted to spotlight some of that.
Not just identity theft. Not just identity theft. It was identity replacement.
Yeah. Actually. Well, yeah. So it's like, yeah, her whole life was completely erased and somebody was going in and changing everything. So she never existed. And the interesting part is this stuff could probably still happen.
Yeah,
I wouldn't see why it couldn't if you had the right program. But yeah, that's what I always thought was interesting about the movie is kind of like how it happened, why it happened, and it can still happen to this day. But the rating, I'm going to give it a middle of the road 5. Not as good as I thought it was back then, watching it today. So kind of disappointed. I do love Sandra Bullock. I like a lot of her movies. So this is not the best movie she's been in, but a little bit of action. But she was still kind of fairly new coming up in the last 5 years before that, give or take. So she hasn't been in the business too long when the net came out. But yeah, I mean, I'm giving it a 5. It's a middle of the road. What about you, Bearded Geek?
I'm right there with you. I cannot go above a 5. I may go 4.5. But yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with 5. Yeah, it was middle of the road, simply because this actually probably still could happen. It had a good idea, but I don't think it just did not keep my attention. I was in my phone through a lot of this movie. I would not recommend this to anybody. I mean, it's just a super dated movie that does not hold water. It's not funny. It's not. It's just. It's not something that holds my attention because it just don't. I can't even explain why. Can't explain why. It just don't hold my attention.
It just
Yeah, it
don't.
just
That makes
don't.
sense. Just don't hold
Yeah,
my attention.
yeah.
So fuck it. It's a 5.
It's a 5. Steve, what would you rate this movie, sir?
Well, I will start by saying, just because I absolutely love movies, and when I hear something that doesn't sound right in my mind, I don't mean to call out. But by the time she had done The Net, she had already done Demolition Man and Speed, along with Love Potion #9. So
yeah.
I'd say that this was a film that she got as an established actress that she probably thought was going to be an intriguing film.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have got, but
this was the year after
script was
Speed.
like, here, have this. Yeah,
this was the year after Speed. So this is a 5, easy, hand like
five's all the way around. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, 5.
It's not horrible, but it's definitely not the best, and does not hold water.
Why are you continuing when it's my I'm trying to get
My bad, sir. Do we have
Come on, man, leave him alone.
Do we have any interesting facts about this movie?
Well, I think that the film is a 5 merely because it really didn't hold my attention, and there was a lot that they could have gone into greater detail with, and they really decided not to. And I think that Sandy B might have done this one thinking it was intriguing, and then realized she was doing it just for the paycheck.
That's probably very well true.
Now, I do have some interesting facts about this movie from 1995 called The Net. I do. The operating. Just a couple. And not as many as 26. I can tell you that much. Not as much as 26. The operating system Angela uses throughout the movie is actually a Mac OS 7. So it's almost the same operating system that they've just been continuously not updating with the phones. So
yeah.
On her checklist on Angela's computer, it says, bring 2600 mag. The 26 is a real hackers magazine.
Oh, okay.
Did not know that. I love the fact that at the beginning of the movie, she's playing one of my favorite computer games, released in 1992, Wolfenstein. That's right.
Wolfenstein, yeah.
That's right. One of the few PG-13 movies permitted to use the F word in a sexual content. I do not remember them saying that word in the movie. That would have stuck out to me because they say sex. They say sex after they have sex. There are several points in this movie where it seems like they should say the F word. Fun fact, in a PG-13 film, you can say fuck twice.
Oh, it's twice? It used to be just once.
As last I checked, it was twice.
But not in a sexual way.
And if you drop a mother effer, automatic R.
Okay.
Automatic R. This is the American film debut of Jeremy Northam. Don't know who that is, but that's an interesting fact. And what's a last good one here? Miss Raines, Margot Winkler, is director Irvin Winkler's wife.
Okay.
So if you want to watch that and figure out who Miss Raines was,
there
are 3 spoilers. Hold on, one spoiler fact for you.
One
spoilers. When Angela sets off the fire alarm in the cathedral office, all the lights go out. This would not happen, as this would make evacuation more hazardous.
I gotcha.
I think that they're looking into it too much, and I think that Sandra Bullock set the lights to go out because she's a computer hacker. Bearded Geek, what were you about? What were you about to say?
Well, I was about to say I do not have any movie memorabilia for this movie, simply for the fact because this movie is The Net.
You want to find movie memorabilia, folks? Go to Google and Google 1995 The Net.
There you go.
I'm sure you'll find something out there.
Mikey the Freak.
Because this movie is not as memorable as the memorabilia you might actually find.
That is true.
Sorry, Mikey.
No.
What were you?
Mikey the Freak, what do we have for some related reels?
It's not too bad. So I did go with Sandra Bullock.
Danny B.
So she's been in so many good movies. I just picked a few of my favorites. So I did do Miss Congeniality. That's always a classic. 1 and 2 is always a good movie. It's funny, comical, so forth.
Remember to sing.
Huh?
Remember to sing.
Oh, yes. Soloplex, Instep, something and growing. Nose and growing. That's it. I was like, I'm not singing. What are you talking about? Speed is always a good one.
No, it's not. That's a horrible drug. Sorry, keep going.
Demolition Man, which we've done on our previous podcast.
I'm
always a fan favorite movie. And then I have Ocean's 8. I thought was a pretty good movie compared to Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. I did like Ocean's 8. Then one of my favorite movies was actually Love Potion number 9. I did have that on there. I did with Tate Donovan. I like Love Potion number 9. It's good.
I'm saying I'm an asshole. That's what I didn't even realize it when I do. I just go down that tunnel.
Well, that was one of those movies. That's one of those sleeper movies that it is funny and it's intriguing movie, and it is Sandra Bullock like in her early days, and then Tate Donovan coming off of like Space Camp era. So he was pretty popular at the time, the late 80s, early 90s. So I did put Dennis Miller, which Dennis Miller, about 99% of his stuff he does like it's himself.
Yeah.
So it's always himself.
He performs like a stand-up. He performs exactly like a stand-up.
Or he's a comedian, or he's in the some kind of congressional or a news reporter or something, but it's always him when he used to do his show. But he was in Joe Dirt, which was, of course, that was always a funny ass movie. And Murder at 1600, he was in that one as well with Wesley Snipes. And then the last one that I have is Jeremy Northam. This was the first movie that Jeremy Northam did. It was funny because you said that, and I'm like, well, he is a British actor, but he really didn't do much American stuff. So this was his first movie he did over in the States. But he was in Emma with Gwyneth Paltrow, Gosford Park, which was a popular movie. And he was in the show called The Crown, which actually is still going on to this day. He was in the first couple seasons of The Crown.
Available on Netflix.
Yes. Oh. But I like The Crown.
Shame on you for not mentioning Tales from the Crypts, Bordello of Blood in Dennis Miller's repertoire, sir.
Because I do not like Dennis Miller.
I'm
not a Dennis Miller fan.
I am not either. I don't like his stand-up. It's way too political.
You're way too political.
I am.
Far from it. But that's all I've got, folks.
Mikey, you need to start growing a beard. I'm looking at me and Kevin, and I'm like, this just clean-shaved mother effer over here.
I can't grow a beard.
Oh, all right. Sorry, folks.
It happens.
Broken promises.
As we come to a close, Steve, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on your podcast?
I was like one of those little like meerkats. I was like, you can find my podcast, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. The last podcast you'd want. It's available on YouTube. It's available on every major podcast outlet. We release whenever we release. There is no set time or day. Subscribe. You may like it. If not, keep your mouth shut and don't tell anyone. Other than that, tip the veal, try the staff. Thanks for coming.
I do encourage everybody to go check out Steve's podcast. It is actually a really good podcast.
I appreciate it.
But as we come to a close, do all the YouTuber things. If you like this video, give us a good old thumbing. Hit that like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment, tell us what you'd like us to review. Make sure it's 80s or 90s. So for Mikey the Freak and Steve, I am the Bearded Geek saying, keep it retro, everybody.
Peace.